They sped past me at the intersection. There was no mistaking her. It was Lee. Her blonde hair flowed in the wind as she clung to the back of a motorcycle. My mind raced with questions. What was my wife doing riding behind someone else at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Without hesitation, I turned my car and followed them. They vanished into a wooded area, leaving me no choice but to park and proceed on foot. The day was warm, with golden sunlight streaming to the trees, insects buzzing in the background, and a soft, silky breeze brushing my face. As I ventured deeper, faint sounds grew louder until I stumbled upon them. There they were, on a blanket spread across the ground. Lee was enthusiastically riding him, her bare chest moving rhythmically with her passionate energy. Both of them were lost in the moment, eyes closed, completely unaware of my presence. It was a surreal scene, almost picturesque. The sunlight filtering through the trees framed their act in a way that felt oddly poetic. I couldn't help myself. I pulled out my phone and began snapping a few artistic shots of the adulterous pair. The man groaned loudly, his voice resembling the guttural sounds of a hippo in heat. I spoke up, calm but cutting. "Hey, Lee, who's your new friend?" Neither of them reacted. I repeated myself louder this time, just as the man reached a climactic groan. A stunned silence followed, broken only by the sound of their frantic movements to cover themselves. The man shot up, his face a mixture of panic and indignation. I recognized him immediately. Bill Avery, another teacher from Lee's school. He was a few years younger than her. So this was how they chose to blow off steam after a long day in the classroom. I knew all of Lee's co-workers. Being married to her for a year and a half meant hearing countless stories about them. "You've got a family, don't you, Bill?" "A couple of kids, if I'm not mistaken," I said coolly. I held up my phone, the evidence clear on the screen. "FYI, your wife gets these as soon as I get back to my car." Bill stammered, trying to protest. "You can't. This is blackmail." I ignored him and turned to Lee. She was frozen in place, staring at me in shock. "You're smart enough to know what this means," I growled. Without another word, I walked away, leaving the two of them scrambling behind me. Later that evening, we came home. Her disheveled appearance told me everything I needed to know. She headed upstairs, showered, and returned wearing yoga pants and a snug t-shirt, her usual attempt to look irresistible. She clearly thought she could charm her way out of this mess. "You're wasting your time," I said coldly. "This marriage is over." She whimpered, her voice trembling. "It was just a fling. It didn't mean anything." "It meant the end of us," I replied firmly. Her voice rose in desperation. "You can't divorce me over one little mistake. Please, Todd, don't do this." I snorted, incredulous. "A mistake? You call that carelessness." She flinched but tried to brush it off. "He wasn't special, okay? I don't even think about him now. I'm all yours." I laughed, literally. "I saw you, Lee. You loved every second of it. And we both know you'll be back for more when the thrill calls you again." Her expression shifted to fear as she realized I wasn't backing down. She leaned in closer, attempting her most seductive look. "Come upstairs, baby. Let me prove how much I love you." The anger I had suppressed bubbled to the surface. "Really, Lee? You think I'm that stupid?" My voice was low but firm. "I'm leaving and I'm not coming back." Her face turned crimson with rage. "You're making a big deal out of nothing. Todd, I've been faithful to you for most of our marriage. You're gone 2 weeks out of every month. Do you know how many offers I've turned down? This was the only time I ever said yes." Her audacity was staggering. I stared at her with a mix of regret and resignation. "Goodbye. Wait to hear from my lawyer." Our marriage had been short but exhausting. I was tired of the lies, the constant vigilance required to keep things afloat. It was time to let go. I drove 2 towns over and stopped in front of a small, charming bungalow. A beautiful woman with chestnut brown hair stood in the yard, holding the hand of an adorable 8-year-old girl. When she saw me, she let go of the child and walked over, her expression filled with concern. "I thought you were on your trip," she said softly, her eyes searching mine. "Did something happen?" In response, I kissed her deeply, allowing the pain of the past to dissolve in her warm embrace. I gazed into her enchanting eyes, allowing myself to feel only the warmth of the moment. Life was fleeting, and I realized I had been away for too long. It was time to stop running and truly live. My wife wrapped her arms tightly around my neck, pressing herself against me as she whispered with heartfelt sincerity, "Welcome home, Stephen. Your family has missed you so much." Mike couldn't believe the day could spiral any further. It was already devastating enough to receive the envelope with the life-altering news, but now he faced an even more daunting task, breaking it to his wife Michelle. Married for 3 years after graduating college, the couple had been steadily building their careers. While their finances were stable, Mike had no idea how they would cope with this looming crisis. As he drove home, lost in thought, his phone buzzed, jolting him back to reality. "Hello," he answered, his voice heavy with exhaustion. "Hey, honey, is everything okay? You sound upset." Michelle's voice came through, laced with concern. "I'm sorry. It's been a rough day," Mike replied. "I'll explain everything when I get home." "All right," she said gently. "I have something to share with you, too. Oh, and I forgot to mention, my parents are joining us for dinner tonight." Mike winced inwardly but forced a neutral tone. "Got it. I'll see you soon. Love you. Love you, too," Michelle said before the call ended. Mike groaned audibly as he placed his phone down. He adored Michelle's parents, Tom and Mary Beth. But tonight of all nights, their presence felt like an extra burden. Then again, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing. Perhaps they could help Michelle see that this was just a temporary setback, and that they could tackle it together. He decided he wouldn't ruin the dinner, but instead would address the issue as soon as he walked in. They'd need plenty of time to process and figure out their next step. Mike stepped into their modest apartment, the envelope clutched tightly in his hand. Inside, Michelle and her parents were waiting for him, seated together on the couch. Michelle's radiant smile lit up the room as she held her mother's hand. His heart sank, knowing he was about to shatter that joy. Before he could speak, Michelle greeted him warmly. "Hey, sweetheart, I know today's been tough, but I have some exciting news to share." She took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. "For the past 10 months, we've been trying to have a baby, and I was starting to lose hope. So today, Mom came with me to see a fertility specialist. They did some blood tests while we discussed our options. A little while later, the nurse handed the results to the doctor, and he told me he couldn't help us." Mike frowned, confused by her smile and tone. Michelle continued, her eyes sparkling. "Because I'm already pregnant." Her words hung in the air as Mike stared at her, stunned. The weight of the revelation pressed down on him, and tears began to roll down his face. Thinking he was overwhelmed with joy, Michelle rushed to embrace him, but as her arms reached out, Mike recoiled violently, shouting, "Don't touch me." The room fell silent. Tom and Mary Beth exchanged shocked glances, unable to comprehend Mike's outburst. "What's going on, Mike?" Michelle asked, her voice breaking. "I thought this is what you wanted, what we both wanted." Mike's voice trembled with suppressed rage. "What I wanted," he began, his tone laced with bitterness, "was to have a family with the woman I loved, to raise children together, grow old together, and be surrounded by love and happiness. That's what I wanted." Michelle's face crumpled. "But we're going to have a baby. Isn't that the start of the life we dreamed of?" "No," Mike snapped, his voice cutting through her words. "You're having a baby. Not us." Michelle looked at him, utterly bewildered. Mike lifted the envelope in his hand and waved it in the air before slamming it onto the coffee table. "Did you forget that I also went to see a specialist today? To find out how we could improve our chances." His voice cracked as he continued. "This is what I got instead. A stupid piece of paper that destroyed everything." Tom, breaking the tension, asked cautiously, "What's in the envelope, Mike?" Mike's jaw clenched as he turned to Tom. "It's the results of my tests." Then, with venom in his voice, he turned back to Michelle. "I'm infertile," he spat, his words cutting like a blade.